Welcome to A Place for Film, the IU Cinema podcast. On this week's episode, we're talking about the Underground film series. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. My name is Andy Hunsucker.
And I'm Jason Thompson.
And on this week's episode, we're going to talk about the Underground film series. It is time, Jason, to start talking about the fall semester.
Yes.
This is the first of many fall semester episodes we're going to have, and we started with the Underground film series. The Underground film series often gets shorted on this show because it comes out, right at the start of the semester, and there's other stuff happening, and we don't always get to talk about all the films and give people a chance to see all the films. So I'm very excited that Russell and Laura from the Underground film series could join us this week and talk about their choices. So we talk about all of them, every single one of them. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
You guys are both PhD students, or okay. And Russell, you're also a documentary filmmaker. Your film played at the cinema last semester, right? Is it playing again this semester?
It did. It's not playing this semester. We had a sort of like feedback screening.
Okay.
I've been working on a film for a while. That's sort of somewhere between documentary and experimental work.
Okay.
And so we had a really productive screening, actually. It was wonderful.
Very cool. Yeah. And Laura also does a lot of stop motion animation. I've seen a lot of your work and a lot of your you talk about it very in a way that makes me curious about doing it myself, even though I know I don't have the patience for it.
Oh, it's a very fun medium. I highly recommend it to anyone.
All right. Well, we will talk about the Underground film series here a little bit later. Okay. Let's talk about the Underground film series. So Mark Benedetti has graduated. If you guys remember from past semesters, Mark would come on and talk about very passionately about these films. You guys have some work to do to live up to that.
No.
But
A challenge ahead of us.
Yes. But the Underground film series. I always preface our discussion on the Underground film series to say I generally don't like experimental film. However, I always find something in the Underground film series to like. So even if every year I go to at least 2 or 3 and always really enjoy at least one of them. So
keep in mind the first time he said that, he says, I really don't understand Underground film series stuff. So it's going somewhere.
It's working. It's working.
Yeah. Can I ask what you've liked in the past?
Oh,
so
gosh.
I know you going in here.
I'm going to have to think about this for a second. Blue. I liked Blue quite a bit, surprisingly. I had some hallucinations while watching it, but that kind of added to the experience.
That was
we can be friends then.
Yeah.
Was that one of yours that you
was,
suggested?
Yeah.
Russell suggested that one.
Good. Yeah. And I also liked some of the Spunkmeyer stuff.
Those were mine.
Okay. I did
go.
like quite a bit of the Spunkmeyer stuff. Also, I hated some of the Spunkmeyer stuff. I was kind of done with it way before it was done with the thing was done.
Yeah, his films are challenging and unique and very visceral.
Yeah.
And people often react to them either with a kind of intense dislike or an intense like.
I will admit that I left Faust early.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't. I couldn't take any more Faust.
Okay, you're digging your hole now. So
I am. Yes, let's just get into this. Okay, so Underground film series. Go ahead, just in case there's anyone in the audience who's like, what does it mean? Did we bury the films? Or would you dig them up and now we're showing them? What does it mean, Underground film?
Underground film. That's a good question. I mean, I think you could bury a film and pick it up, and then we would be like, wow, this is great, let's watch it. But no, I mean, underground film, independent works, avant-garde pieces, experimental pieces, things that sort of get outside of the mainstream in all sorts of different ways. So we try to program a pretty diverse group of films that can fall under that underground moniker in a variety of different ways.
Yeah, and it's a series that we've had on campus for quite a number of years. Our faculty advisor, Joan Hawkins, has been, very supportive of this for, I'm not exactly sure what year it started, but it's been quite a few years.
Yeah.
And we've always shown films that were non-commercial or experimental or really off the beaten path, far off the beaten path somehow.
You guys had Los Angeles Plays Itself as part of Underground. I liked that a lot as well.
Oh, good.
That was really interesting. But, again, very kind of bizarre but fascinating.
That could characterize a number of the films we
that
screen.
sounds like pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's real quick. It's not just you guys. There's a lot of people helping you guys with this. So let's go ahead and mention the rest of the people who your co-conspirators in the Underground Film Series?
Absolutely. So Laura already mentioned Joan Hawkins, who's our faculty advisor. She is amazing, and she's been extremely supportive. And then we have myself, Laura, Eric Zobel. We actually have a lot of new people sort of joining the team this semester. A lot of folks have graduated. So Eric Zobel, Jamie Hook, Christopher Miles. And then we have a program this semester as well from the Black Film Center archive that Brian Graney is bringing, which I'm really excited about.
I've seen a couple of those. The films look fascinating from the Black Film Center archive. I'm really excited about seeing those. By the way, I've got the whole cinema catalog right here. I'm not showing it to you. Anyways, the entire thing.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
What?
I've
I get left out of this
I've
cool
distributed
kids club.
copies for $5 a piece. Wait, no, I didn't.
We
Yes.
should meet up afterwards.
Yeah. We will have John on next week to
Yes.
talk about the entire cinema schedule. Oh, God, I would love to tell you guys some of the things that are in here, but no, I'm not going to do it. All right, so let's just start off here with the very first film, Aberration of Light, Dark Chamber Disclosure.
Sounds like a thesaurus.
Yes.
Someone just grabbed a thesaurus and just wrote a bunch of words.
Well, this isn't a film so much as a projection show. So the people who are coming in, Luis Recorder and Olivia Block,
And Sandra Gibson, too.
and Sandra
Yeah.
Gibson, they do these, I want to say they're kind of like installations in a sense, where they create a program where they're playing with how it's a kind of a light show with the projectors.
Yeah. I mean, it's really, they do some incredible, beautiful, stunning performances, I think is really what they are. They're live pieces that are performed for you as an audience.
And it's very site specific, so they're taking advantage of the projection setup that we have here at the IU Cinema, and they're going to create something based on the setup that's here. So it'll be a show that's completely unique to our space. You won't be able to see it anywhere else. And I think that's really a special part of that program.
It's done with film?
Yes, it's 30. Is it all 35 millimeter?
I think a lot of their stuff in the past has been 35. I think this is all 35 as well.
Okay.
But it's really playing with and sort of grappling with the stock, the celluloid, and the projection technology as an actual piece of the show, drawing attention to the machine, drawing attention to the stock, drawing attention to the light passing through.
So almost things that you typically wouldn't want somebody to be aware of when they're watching movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
interesting,
And it's like really showing at least their past pieces. I'm excited to see this one, but their past pieces really kind of show the beauty of all of those pieces that you normally sort of
Gotcha.
neglect.
Cool. And this is August 30th, Friday at 6:30 p.m. Most of these are Fridays.
Friday at 6:30 is our usual time for the Underground Film Series. The only exception this semester is the Ray Harryhausen fairy tales.
That sounds interesting. We'll talk about that here in a few minutes. And not every Friday, but
Not every Friday,
you
but
know.
when we have the Underground, it's Friday at 6:30 is our usual time.
Cool. So let's talk about the next setup here, animated shorts programs from NFB of Canada.
Yes, I'm really excited about this one. So NFB stands for National Film Board of Canada, and they're an organization that's really nurtured a lot of different kinds of independent filmmaking, including animation. And so this is a program of 10 shorts ranging from lyrical and arty to really funny and much more traditional. It has a lot of different techniques. It has stop motion, sand animation, cell animation, hand-drawn animation, and computer animation. And we really wanted to showcase with this one the diversity of animation and also just show how innovative these shorts have been, and that, how the National Film Board has really supported innovative, personal, interesting films that are unlike what you would see in commercial feature-length animation.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. So what are the shorts in here?
Well, one of the most well-known ones actually played recently at the IU Cinema because it was Oscar-nominated. So it was part of the Oscar-nominated shorts program in 2012, I want to say.
Okay.
And it's called Wildlife. So some of the patrons of the cinema might have already seen this one. It's hand-drawn, and it's about a man who is a homesteader from Europe, and he comes to Canada to create a ranch, or I can't remember specifically, but he's homesteading in Canada, and it's this sort of tragic tale of him interacting with the Canadian landscape.
Okay. I feel like I should have seen that one, but I don't. It doesn't ring a bell, so maybe I missed that one. Anything else of interest?
Yes. One of the more fun ones, which is not as well known, is called Juke Bar, and it's a stop-motion animation about bugs that live in a jukebox and have a party in the jukebox. And it's really funny, and it's one of the sort of more playful shorts in the program. And there's also a pin screen animation, which is a really odd technique that you don't see very often, where you have literally a screen with little pins in it, and you manipulate the pins to create images one frame at a time. And it's a very lovely technique, and it's very ethereal. And so we have one pin screen animation.
Very cool. And that one is on September 6th, Friday at 6:30 p.m. So the next one listed here is called Telephone Book, and I just want to read you up to the first comma of the description. A brilliant satire of 1970s pornography. I'm there. I've got my ticket already.
It is X-rated as well, so you will not be able to get in, I don't believe, unless you're 18.
Yes.
Okay.
I think they'll be actually checking IDs for this one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you are 18, you need to come. It's amazing.
Okay. So tell me more about this one.
The Telephone Book, it's this sort of like lost gem from the sort of New York underground scene of the 70s. So it's directed by Nelson Lyon, and it's this sort of story of a woman who falls in love with an obscene telephone caller. Sort of on like it's the simplest way to describe it. And she goes on this hunt to try to find him. And it's just sort of like caricature after caricature of all of these sort of 1970s porn types, right? So like the retired stag filmmaker trying to make a comeback, and sort of like dirty old housewives, and it's a really, really self-conscious sort of film that's dealing with all of these types while sort of simultaneously embracing them. So it finds itself, I think, pretty brilliantly in a whole bunch of different realms. Right.
Yeah.
It is totally satire. It's totally a part of this sort of New York underground scene. And then it's also, sort of embodying this 1970s theatrical porn style at the same time.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
It's incredible.
That sounds really interesting. I'm really excited to see that, actually. And that one's October 4th, Friday at 6:30 p.m.
Yes.
And then this has a great title, this next one. Exploding Lineage, Queer of Color Histories in Experimental Media. What is that all about?
Well, this is the one that was, this is a show that was brought in by the Black Film Center Archive. It was curated by, who did you say
Mix.
it was?
Yeah, it's curated by this festival in New York called Mix NYC, which is a really wonderful experimental queer festival that also does like performance pieces during the festival, also does all sorts of sort of interactive cinema pieces. And so this is a program that was curated by them, and it's being brought by Brian Craney and the Black Film Center Archive.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this is a shorts program?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And I think there'll actually be a couple of filmmakers here as well for that program, which will be amazing.
Yeah, we have guest, the curators, filmmakers and curators are going to be present. So you'll actually have an opportunity to talk to the people who programmed this group of shorts and some of the filmmakers that made them. So it'll be a nice opportunity to interact with the filmmakers that we don't often have in underground.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times in underground, I feel like it's stuff that was made 60s, 70s, or, if it's newer stuff, I don't know. Why don't we get more people to visit for the underground stuff?
Well, part of it is simply a budgeting concern and being able to bring guests out. And sometimes we have the opportunity and sometimes we don't. Last year with Jan Schwankmeyer, we did make an attempt to bring him out, and we reached out to him, but he was busy with a film project, and so that wasn't something that was able to happen. And then, sometimes it's just that the filmmakers are no longer available.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But we should probably also say during the first program, Aberration of Light, we'll have obviously the performers who are going to be here, and they'll be doing a Jorgensen as well.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And they're incredibly, I've talked to Sandra Gibson before. They're incredibly smart and incredibly knowledgeable about what they're doing. And they're a lot of just kind of fun to listen to talk through their process and what they do.
Yeah, very cool. So that one's going to be on October 11th, Friday at 6:30, Exploding Lineage, Queer of Color Histories in Experimental Media. And then we get to the fairy tales.
Yes.
This one jumped out at me. Ray Harryhausen Fairy Tales.
I'm delighted by this program.
So
I am
exciting.
delighted just hearing about it. So Ray Harryhausen, of course, you should know that name. He's a stop motion. He did special effects, stop motion special effects. So he worked on the original King Kong, didn't he?
No, that is a different animator. That was in the 1930s.
Okay.
Ray Harryhausen wasn't active until 1949 was his first feature, Mighty Joe Young.
Okay.
So Mighty Joe Young
Mighty
might
Joe
be
Young,
what
that's
you're
what I'm
thinking
thinking of, yeah.
But he did Clash of the Titans, Jason and the Argonauts, this weird movie called 1 Million Years BC where there are a
Yes.
lot of animated dinosaurs. And it's an odd film, but the dinosaurs are really worth checking that one out.
Yeah.
It's very campy, though.
Yeah. So these are a bunch of his short films, which I didn't even realize he made. But tell me about these.
Yeah, so these are 16 millimeter films that he made between about 1941 and 1953. So before he made his before he worked on his first feature in 1949, he had started making these animated fairy tales. So among them are very familiar tales like Little Red Riding Hood and The Story of King Midas. And they're all stop motion, puppet animation, and they're really just lovely, pleasant films to take to watch with your kids.
Yeah.
It really is how it sounds, where they're stop motion fairy tales.
Yeah.
And it's a great opportunity to see some of the work that he did before his more well-known features. And the reason we are programming it is because he passed away this past year, and so we wanted to do a program that, sort of paid tribute to him and his contribution to the art of animation.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, I'm a big fan of Ray Harryhausen and our pal Hoyt Yateman from a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, mentioned him.
He was talking a lot about Ray Harryhausen. So I don't know. I know he's coming. This might be the weekend he's coming. Maybe.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Possible.
If
We
that
should
works
bring him out.
Yeah. Well, Hoyt Yateman will be here. I just don't know if it's this weekend, but I know it's in October, I think. So maybe John
You're the
did
one
that.
with the cinema
That's right.
schedule.
I could look, but I'm not going to. I'm going to focus on our topic at hand, Jason. Whatever. So that one, that's October 19th, Saturday at 3 p.m. We got a few more here. West Coast Underground.
Yes.
All right.
I am so excited about this one, actually. So a lot of the time when we talk about Underground, I think you're right. We end up talking about films from the 60s, from the 70s, from the New York Underground really specifically, right? So like The Telephone Book fits dead on in that slot. And there are a lot of films that somehow escape a lot of the sort of canonical text, a lot of the ways of thinking about underground, and the West Coast kind of ends up in that realm. So I'm from the West Coast, and as we were sitting around our table sort of thinking about what we wanted to screen, we kind of all started throwing out ideas for shorts, and somehow we just ended up throwing out all of these people who were filming on the West Coast in the 60s, in the 70s, but then also sort of currently, right, who come from the West Coast, who are making films about the West Coast. And it's a really different sort of sensibility than the New York Underground that sort of always seems to come up when you talk about underground cinema.
Right.
So this is a really sort of exciting group of films made by either people from the West Coast, about the West Coast, on the West Coast, some sort of thing outside of the sort of New York scene that's been happening. So there's some Barbara Hammer when she was on the West Coast. She's now migrated to New York, right? But this is like pre-New York migration. Maya Deren. Yeah.
I was going to say Barbara Hammer, the film we're showing of hers, she's loaning us that print personally, isn't she?
Oh, I don't know. Is she? That's exciting.
I had heard that. That's a rumor that I heard. Now I'm
amazing.
wondering. I thought you would know. Now I'm wondering if it's true.
It's
I don't know.
recorded
That's
now. It's
great if it
true.
is. Oh,
I
it's
know.
true. Yes, if it's on, if it's been recorded, it is immediately true. I like that. That'd be awesome. I mean, some Maya Deren. If anybody's familiar with her, she's a big name, but also West Coast. Kenneth Anger. Right. Yeah. He was here a while ago. Right?
Yeah, he was
Right.
here the very
Right.
first semester. First or second semester.
But I don't think we showed this particular film, so this will be something different. So if you went to the Kenneth Anger series and found those films interesting, then I would highly recommend coming to this one.
Yeah, there was another Kenneth Anger film, I think, last semester as well. Yeah. Something about the moon. I can't remember the name of it. It was bizarre, but I guess that's Kenneth Anger. So
right.
It was a guy like sort of singing a song.
He was dancing to
the moon. I think there was a rabbit involved of some kind.
I'm blanking on the title of the.
Rabbit's Moon might be the title of it. Yeah. It was part of like a group of films sort of related to the moon. So it was like Journey to the Moon and then some other stuff with the moon, and there was a Kenneth Anger film in there.
Was that the one that Donald Crafton put together?
So. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think so.
And then in this program also. Maybe Laura was saying she has mixed feelings, maybe, but about James Franco's work. So there are three of his recent short films. So we'll be screening Goat Boy, Herbert White, and Feast of Stephen as a part of those, and those are all sort of really diverse pieces that he's done recently, all completely independent, not studio in any sort of way, right? And they're all really incredible. I really enjoy them. So if you're curious about what he does away from
getting PhDs,
away from getting PhDs and away from the studios, I mean, it's some really amazing stuff. And they've been loaned directly from him as well. So those will be really interesting. Yeah,
very cool. That one is October 25th, Friday at 7 p.m. So this next one, I don't know much about this, but though I do know, John, this is related to another series that we can talk about because John posted it on the Facebook page. There's a Jean-Luc Godard series coming, and not his famous ones either. So this is Histoires du Cinéma. Histoire du Cinéma. All right.
Yeah.
I will.
Eventually, you'll know all the French you ever
exactly. It's
done.
bizarre. You watch enough foreign films, you start picking up like every third word, and you're like, wait a minute, am I learning French? And I don't think I am, but I still pick up a lot of words that I didn't know before. So tell me about this particular setup here.
This is one that I actually haven't seen, and I'm really excited about it. It's one that I've never quite gotten around to. I've seen a number of the other films that are going to be programmed, which I'm sure John will talk about next week, but I don't know this film as well.
This one is, I haven't seen it either, and I'm thrilled to be able to see it. It's one that not many people have seen, actually, because it was not released in any sort of capacity where you could for a very, very long time. It's from what the pieces that I've seen of it, it's sort of Jean-Luc Godard's sort of essay on the history of cinema. So it's clips from tons of different films, which is why it was never released, or it wasn't released for a long, long time because it was kind of impossible to clear. And so he's pulling from all sorts of different films, and then it's all sort of a voiceover telling his history of cinema in 8 sort of episodes. So it's a long one too. It's 266 minutes.
266 minutes.
Yeah, we're showing all 8 episodes, which is, I mean, really an incredible experience. It does not happen. So
exactly. I didn't realize that. I thought this was just a Godard film that was 266 minutes. I was like, wow, that's a lot. But if it's sort of broken up into chunks, I'm sure that John will fit a intermission in there somewhere. I'm hoping.
You can ask him when you talk to him.
Yes. Yeah. But that does sound really interesting to hear what Jean-Luc Godard thinks about film.
And when was that curated?
Well, all of his films are telling you what he thinks about film,
That's
essentially,
true.
even from the first one.
Yeah.
What was the year on that one?
That's 98.
98, yeah, is when the last episode, I think, was officially produced.
Yeah. So that one's November 1st, Friday at 6:30 p.m. And the final films, 2 films by Sue Friedrich.
Yes.
Tell me all about it.
Oh, I'm so excited about this program. Sue Friedrich she's a lesbian feminist filmmaker, and Sink or Swim is a really interesting film. It's all about her relationship with her father, kind of told through her father teaching her, really not teaching her to swim. And it's very fragmented. There are a lot of pieces to it. I don't know what else to say about it. It's one of my favorite films.
Yeah, I love Sue Friedrich's stuff. I mean, I think that's really all you sort of can say.
Yeah. And Rules of the Road is really interesting. It's really the story of a relationship, but all of the images are basically, they're shots of station wagons. So it's just this montage of station wagons. That's pretty much what the image is. But you have this voiceover track where a woman is talking. Is she talking to her girlfriend, or I can't remember if they're actually having a conversation or whether she's just narrating her relationship. And so you have this voiceover track of her discussing her relationship or perhaps talking to her girlfriend. I haven't seen it in quite a number of years. And then you just have this montage of shots of station wagons. And it's a really fascinating kind of meditative film. And it's not so long that it gets tedious, but it's long enough that you can really kind of get into the rhythm of it. It has a very nice rhythm to it.
Well, that's something that I always find with the underground films, the experimental stuff. It's not always about it's, for me at least, when I find something I enjoy, it's rarely about the images I'm seeing on screen. It's how they sort of lull me into this sort of strange hypnotic trance of some kind.
I think that's really important when you come to, either come to the cinema to see these films or just kind of come to experimental work in general, is to be ready to not confront the moving image in the same way that you would when you go to a theater or when you go to any other film at the IU Cinema as well. It is about being either lulled in, or sometimes they're a little bit more aggressive, and that's a part of it, is to get you to really question something, either about the medium, about the form, about the content. And they're not always about just allowing you easy access into that world. And that's the beautiful part, I think.
Yeah, they play with time and sort of the experience of seeing the story, or the experience of story in a way that you don't really get with a lot of narrative cinema. And I think that's one of the things that's really lovely about Sue Friedrich's work, is the way that she plays with time in her films and sort of the rhythm of experiencing relationships, because so many of her films really are about relationships, but they're not about this, easy A plus B equals C trajectory that you often get with a narrative of a relationship, but really more about, like, what does it feel like to be in a relationship? And so she kind of comes at the experience of relationships sort of from the side door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. And that last one is December 6th at 6:30 p.m. So yeah, any other final thoughts about the Underground series?
I'm really excited about this sort of program we have. I hope people come out to see it. Oh, and then also, if you have, this is sort of like a thing more generally outside of the IU Cinema. If there are any sort of filmmakers listening, watching, if you want to send content to the Underground film series. This is very cryptic, right? We're going to start sort of doing a little bit more spontaneous kind of thing along with Underground, which we're calling Offsite Underground at the moment.
Oh, okay.
And we're going to sort of take both canonical works alongside local filmmakers, younger filmmakers, pieces, and screen them in less conventional spaces.
Or screen them through less conventional performances.
Exactly.
So we're open to sort of multimedia performances that could fit into our general mission.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you make work that fits within this sort of realm, this underground realm, you can send it to us at the CMCL building, or you can send me an email with a Vimeo link, a protected Vimeo link or something, and we're all sitting down and watching the submissions together, and we'll do these sort of more spontaneous pop-up nights. Or if you have an idea for some really awesome installation that you think would be cool in town, we're up for that kind of stuff as well.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we'll get out of here. Underground film series, guys. You now have a chance to see all this stuff. I've heard several things that I'm definitely going to check out, so I'm excited about a lot of these. So, Laura, Russell, thank you guys very much for joining us. We appreciate you taking the time. So we'll get out of here. I'm Andy.
And I'm Jason.
This has been, and always will be, A Place for Film. A Place for Film is recorded at WFIU Studios in Bloomington, Indiana.